Good afternoon. This is Group 5, and we're doing our presentation about nursing today. My name is Paul Rosen, and my experience with nursing mainly comes through leukemia care for my son and diabetes care both here in Finland and in Italy.
Hi everybody, my name is Yvonne Musu, and I made an interview with a nurse from Ghana. She works as the public health nurse. Yeah.
Hi, I am Adora Philip, and I chose one person from Finland, and she works as a psychiatric nurse. So I interviewed her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
So we'll start by talking about why we were interested in nursing ourselves and what the interest of the nurse who we talked to or who we worked with, what their interest was. So we'll start with you.
I was interested in nursing to help pupils, and also in nursing they have more opportunities to work. So I chose this.
Actually, I've always loved to be a nurse. My mom is a midwife. She's retired at the moment, but the passion she had in her work and the satisfaction I thought she had whenever she came back from work, it's actually was so nice to look at. So it kind of made me want to be like her. And the respect she gained from the community and the money aspect is also good. So I thought it's something very fulfilling. And then from my experience, my daughter was in neonatal care, so I had a bit of experience as well. So looking at the amount of work they do, the passion, the results of what they do, it's just nice. And I thought, I want to do this. I also wanted to help other people. So basically, that was why.
And
what about you?
Okay. Yeah, I was interested in nursing because I've had many members of my family spend a lot of time in hospitals. I have the experience living in the hospital long term with a son with leukemia, and this was in Finland, and the very high standard of care and high motivation that the Finnish nurses had. I've also dealt with diabetes both in America, in Italy, and here in Finland, and a lot of interaction with some very good diabetic nurses in America and Finland, and some really very poor care in Italy. So I know what it's like to be living in a hospital for 1 week and to have poor medical care, and it's not nice. It's nice to have nurses who want to be there, who enjoy their job, and who are there for a reason.
Right. So in that case, what is the motivation for you as a nurse? What will motivate you to become a nurse?
Well, what I said before, the interest in helping people who are sick. Part of it is solving puzzles. You see these different indicators and trying to figure out what's wrong and what's going to work for that particular patient, both medically and in keeping them engaged and comfortable and happy. So they keep on pressing on, which can be hard for some illnesses for the patient to want to press on.
With me, according to the nurse I interviewed from Ghana, she's actually my cousin. She actually told me that the process of a person being a patient and then getting healed or getting better, the results when he sees somebody going through that process, just gives her that gratitude. She said basically that's why she wants to be a nurse. Especially she's a public health nurse. So when you see maybe a malnourished child or a child who's really sick, and then taking them through all the stages in their care, and then in the end you see the baby walking, playing about, doing things, it's quite fulfilling to her. So that's why she says she did it, and I thought that was really lovely. How about you?
Yeah, according to me, when I interviewed the Finland nurse, she was working as a psychiatric nurse. She likes to help the pupil who is suffering the mental illness, and she was telling me that when she talks and giving some treatments, and then when they get the result, she will be very happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So now we'll talk about what nurses actually do
Do.
in the hospital.
Mm.
Something that I'm sure is different for each country.
Definitely.
I'll go ahead and start. In America, it's a little bit different than in Finland. The nurses' work is a little bit more behind the scenes, and doctors do more than they do in Finland. There's a lot of tasks that can be handled by nurses that the doctors still do. It's not like if you watch the TV show House, where you hardly ever see nurses.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that extreme.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say that probably 20% of the patient care is probably done by doctors, whereas in Finland, I probably saw the doctor once a week or once every 2 weeks when my son was having the leukemia care. In Finland, the nurses would change the bed at once a day or as needed. They would take care of his meal times. They would check the diabetes log to make sure that was working.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard because there's things that they trained me to do that they would have done if I wasn't there. Keeping the wounds clean, keeping the catheter mainline clean, changing bandages, and actually I was doing the linen changes. But they dealt with the medicines, which is something that I didn't deal with, except for the diabetes medicine, which I did deal with. But they also had a big role in just keeping him happy. They had a special nurse who was there, who was an education nurse, but she was fully trained as a nurse, and she would interact with them, figure out what types of school things that they would need, because these kids, the leukemia kids, are in their long term. There's other nurses who did therapy with play therapy or musical education. So yeah, they took care of pretty much every kind of interaction that the child would need. Compare that to Italy, where we didn't see the nurses very much. The parents actually would a couple of times a week go to get groceries, bring them back. We fed the children ourselves, and any changes to the children's clothes or bedding or stuff, we did those ourselves. And actually, it was almost like in Finland, where you see the doctor once a week, and in Italy we saw the nurse once a week. It's kind of strange.
Okay.
What was?
What about me? I was like in psychiatric nurse. She's always talking about the patients and giving them the social support if they are in sick with that. They are arranging the social support.
Social services.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she's giving the magnetic response treatment.
Okay.
Yeah, and here in Finland they have more these depression patients and OCD. So they were giving support. Like they are social services are there, so they are arranging for that.
Okay. And then from the nurse from Ghana as well, she's a community health nurse, so she arranged the clinics for new moms and they call them clients, and then they give advice to new moms as to how to breastfeed baby, how to latch baby on the breast, and nutrition for babies and even young kids, and they do vaccinations. Yeah, they take notes, and then she also worked on the bedside as well, in the ward as well. So they do vital signs, they make beds. Yeah, she do ward rounds with the doctors. Yeah, and they don't seem to do as much as nurses do here in Finland.
Okay.
Yeah, they do normally the basic cares compared to what I've noticed from the Finnish nurses.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what she told me.
I'm glad you mentioned about the social care because the regular hospital nurses do interact with social services a lot in terms of getting people the CALA benefits they're supposed to get, interacting with the city authorities to provide whatever city support that the child or patient might need.
Yeah.
So that's an important role also.
Yeah.
The next was, how important is the nurse's role inside the hospital, inside society? I think a lot of what we said already answers that question.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah.
start.
One thing she said that actually struck me was in Ghana, when let's say you're a nurse in a community and something happens, people just eventually come to you because they know you're a nurse in the society. That's how they look up to you as a nurse living in a community. So it's like somebody's pregnant. You might not be a midwife, but the fact that you're a nurse and maybe someone is in labor, they expect you to help.
Yes.
So they actually look up to them and rely on them so much. Even someone is hungry or someone is homeless or something, they actually look up to the nurse to do something. So they are playing a very big role in the society, I think.
And I think that's true also in Finland and America, that if you have a friend who's a nurse, and I've had several, anytime somebody has like a medical question, it's like, okay, I have a friend who's a doctor, I have a friend who's a nurse, I'll go ask my friend Haiti about how this works or how that works. And I think that shows how much respect that we have for nurses. That we ask them the same questions that we might ask a doctor, at least in Finland and America.
Here, that psychiatric nurse was telling me about the prevalence of depression patients are very large in Finland. So the psychiatric nurses, they need the psychiatric nurses here. So it's very necessary here, more important than psychiatric nurses here. They need the psychiatric nurses.
And the last question is what nurses need to know to do their jobs. And when we think about the scope of what we've talked about that nurses need to do, it's a lot of things.
Oh, yes.
They need to understand how social services works. They need to understand what resources the cities have. They need to have a lot of medical knowledge.
Yeah.
They need to have cleanliness knowledge.
Yes.
And they need to have interpersonal knowledge to be able to interact with the patients in a way that's beneficial for the patient's health and recovery.
And then the lady from Ghana actually said you need to be able to communicate with the relatives, friends, people that come to the patient as well, because it's more or less a holistic care you're giving the patient, the family, everything around them. So you have to have a very good human relations. You have to be very, very patient because we have different patients coming to you. So some of them can be, I wouldn't use the word aggressive, but they can be, probably the word.
And balancing time with the different patients.
Exactly.
You have more patients than maybe you have time. And
and you have to be meticulous. You have to know what you're doing.
And here that nurse was telling me from Finland, she was saying we need to get updated always. Like we need to be educated. Like always some training programs, and we need to get something from. We need to read some books and some articles. Otherwise, the patient relatives maybe they will be reading from the Google and they will be know more than us if we didn't get updated.
Okay.
So she was telling that maybe she was just waiting they were just waiting and they were just checking like Google what is this and what and all they are doing, and they will be knowing more than us.
I'm certainly guilty of doing that to doctors on occasion.
Okay. So in conclusion, I think we are set to have a very good profession after graduation, hopefully.
And it's almost scary how much you need to know, how much you need to continue to learn new as time goes on. but it's also very valuable. So difficult but valuable. Our time's up. We thank
Okay.
you for listening, and
Yeah.
next time we're going to have the history of juggling.
See you graduation
See you.
time.
Bye.
Bye.